Hello there and welcome to another episode of my Game of Thrones reviews. This is episode 9. Now I'm really sorry that this episode hasn't been uploaded yet and that we've taken this long, but as I said in last week's episode, I have been completely rushed off my feet recently with everything that's been going on. It's been a really busy couple of weeks really, so I've only now got round to it, but I'm hoping to do episode 9 today and then episode 10 tomorrow if possible. If not, definitely by Thursday it will both be up online for you to enjoy. So before we begin, let's talk about, obviously we need to issue a quick spoiler alert for episode 9 of season 6. Now I hope you enjoyed this episode. So I'm going to do things slightly differently today, as in, because there was only 2 locations on episode 9, I'm going to do it in a bit of a dissimilar order than what we're kind of used to. Rather than just dealing with one location at a time, I'm going to split it up into different parts, which you'll see as we go through the review. So the title then of Season 6, Episode 9 was Battle of the Bastards, which is fairly self-explanatory. It refers to the massive battle outside Winterfell between Ramsay Bolton and Jon Snow, both of whom are bastards. That's about it really, that's all I can really say. So my 5 words are under them. I've got 4 words, and that is brutal, bloody and brilliant. Brutal, bloody and brilliant. It was a fantastic episode, which you'll see as we go through this episode, through this review, how excited I was by basically by the whole episode. So I'm going to start at Winterfell before the battle then. Now, obviously this wasn't the first event in the entire episode, but we're going to look at it first anyway. Jon, Sansa, Tormund and Davos met with Ramsay before the battle, or to kind of negotiate a treaty almost. Now, Ramsay offered Jon a pardon for breaking his vow to the Night's Watch. But I want to know, did he really? In effect, yes, he did break his vow, because his watch, he said his watch was ended when he wasn't dead, he'd come back to life. But technically his watch must have ended when he died, because it was only until his death, which was obviously at the end of season 5. So did that release him contractually, or did it mean that he has broken his vow to the Night's Watch? I don't really know. Now, Jon offered Ramsay one-on-one combat, but Ramsay refused, as he wasn't sure that he beat Jon by himself, but was certain that with his army he would be victorious. Now, I think that was quite an interesting move that Ramsay made, to be honest, that he wasn't very sure whether he could beat him by himself. So it shows his kind of weakness in one-on-one combat. He's much more better when he's in control, Ramsay, I think, and that was a very interesting development that we saw from Ramsay this week. I think that Ramsay was not quite as sure of his victory alone that he would be able to beat Jon. And Sansa told Ramsay that he would die the following day, which I thought was incredibly brave from Sansa. I think Sansa is, this season, as I say, as I keep saying throughout this series, Sansa has been a very, very strong woman this season. I think we've seen a little different side to Sansa that maybe we haven't seen before in previous seasons. She's really coming to her own, and I think that's brilliant. Now, Jon discussed battle plans with Tormund and Davos, which again was kind of a generic battle scene. It wasn't really that exciting massively. And then Sansa and Jon's argument I thought was fantastic. I think the direction that had been given, the delivery of the lines, all of it was just fantastic. And I think that built up the tension really before the start of the battle, that even amongst, you know, their own ranks they were arguing with each other. And Jon and Melisandre's conversation was interesting. I'm still a bit sceptical as to whether Jon is the chosen one, whether he is Azor Ahai, or whatever the name of the god is, or the Red God, whether he is him resurrected or not, but it just seems to be a bit, I think, you know, Melisandre is very sure that he is the chosen one, but I don't think Jon's entirely convinced, and I don't think I'm entirely convinced either. And finally then, Davos discovered the pyre where Shireen was burned, and he found the wooden stag that he had carved for her, which I thought was an extremely sad scene, and it was very, very, very upsetting to see Davos realise what had happened to her. And I think that he needs, whether he will confront Melisandre, I don't know. Well, yes, I do know, but I'm approaching this as if I haven't seen the episode last night, the season finale. And I think it was a very sad kind of It was a very sad scene to watch Davos realise what had happened to Shireen. Now we're going to take a look at what was happening in Marine on that episode as well. Now, Daenerys and Tyrion discussed how to deal with the fleet that was obviously the fleet of the Masters that was attacking Marine, caused by Tyrion's kind of whatever he'd caused some, his weird, through his plans essentially, which seemed to be working so well, and then they backfired on him completely. And then Daenerys and Tyrion, along with Missandei and Grey Worm, met with the Masters, so the three Masters that we've seen before talking to Tyrion. They turned up, and Daenerys offered them terms of surrender, which I thought was a very interesting scene. I think she made such a good, strong leader now that she's offering people terms of surrender rather than accepting them herself. And she rowed Drogon into the bay and burned the fleet. Burn the Master's fleet along with Rhaegal and Viserion, her other two dragons. I thought that was a brilliant scene. The direction again on that was fantastic. This director that is Miguel something or other, I can't remember his last name, but Miguel, who directed Hard Home last season. He directed another episode as well. I think it was The Gift, which is episode 7. He also directed episode 8 last season, and he's directed 9 and 10 this season. And all 4 episodes that he's directed have been fantastic. And I just want him to be kind of permanent director. And Grey Worm killed 2 of the Masters, which I thought was a very funny scene. It made me laugh. Greyjoy said, that only not Greyjoy, sorry, Grey Worm said that only one of the Masters had to die, and then he ended up killing 2 of them instead. And it was quite a very interesting scene, and it was very funny. And then finally, Dario led the Dothraki to lead with the Dothraki to deal with the Sons of the Harpy, who are massacring free men, and that again was quite a short scene with Dario leading the Dothraki into battle, but I think it was a quite effective scene because it kind of got the gist across without having to show a massive battle ensuing for the whole kind of. They could have done a 20-minute battle with that, 20-30-minute battle with the Dothraki versus the Sons of the Harpy, but I think just a little bit of it was quite good just to get that kind of idea across. And later in the episode then, Yara and Theon arrived in Marine and offered Daenerys their ships in exchange for helping them to take back the Iron Islands and also recognising their independence, which I thought was quite an interesting development actually. I mean, we obviously knew of Yara's plan to join with Daenerys slightly earlier in the season. Was it last? I think it was episode 8 or 7, something like that. But I wasn't quite expecting it to be this quick, and suddenly we're here and they've created an alliance almost, and it's quite an interesting development with that. And also, is there a romance brewing between Daenerys and Yara? I mean, that was quite an interesting development, I think. When Yara said, my marriage, it doesn't come a proposal of marriage, but I'm up for anything. And it was quite an interesting thing. And also Daenerys, the actress, Emilia Clarke, has said, she's up for anything with Daenerys' character. Let there be a lesbian relationship between them. I think Daenerys thinks that would be quite interesting. Emilia Clarke thinks that would be very interesting. I think the rest of us would be quite, I don't know whether quite satisfied with that or whether it just be an interesting kind of development of the story, but I think it's going to be good, whatever happens. So now I'm going to take a look back at Winterfell during the battle this time. Now, the armies gathered, obviously, the next morning, and Ramsay let Rickon go and told him to run. Now, this is where my frustration got to me a bit, because Ramsay started firing arrows at him, and he killed, he killed Rickon. If Rickon had zigzagged, we'd been fine. And I know a lot of you out there are so annoyed with it, the same as I am. If Rickon had zigzagged, Rickon would still be alive, and we could have had an extra Stark behind the walls of Winterfell. But no, the director gave him a strict instruction: run straight. And I think that was quite frustrating on everyone's part, including including the actor, Rickon's actor, got really annoyed with that as well. I think that he got killed off. So then, obviously, the battle raged after that. Jon went into battle, and everyone else went into battle following him, and it was all over the place. And there was too much to describe right here. But if you haven't seen the episode, go and watch it. You shouldn't be watching this video if you haven't watched the episode, but go and watch it. The battle is incredible. It's such a fantastic battle. It was incredible. It was fantastic. It was brilliant. So many other positive adjectives I could use, but I'm not going to use them all here. I could go through the whole list of positive adjectives in the English dictionary. I won't do that. Don't worry, you're saved at that. There was a fantastic scene with the Boltons closing in on the Stark's army, and Jon was kind of being squashed, and then he raised himself up to kind of lift himself out of the crowd. And the way that they did it, the way that they shot it, was very similar to Season 3, Episode 10, Misa, the ending of that, where Daenerys was lifted up by the slaves, if you can remember all that far back, when she first arrived. Is it Marine, I think she first arrives at? And all the slaves lift her up, and she's there in a fantastic circular kind of patterning. I think that was exactly the same as what they did with Jon. It was really good. Now, Tormund Giantsbane killed Small Jon Umber, which was very interesting. He bit him, I think, if I remember. He bit him on the neck, and that was quite a kind of moment again. And then Peter Baelish and Sansa arrived with the Knights of the Vale, who defeated the Bolton army, which was very obviously satisfactory, very whatever. I can't think of any other words to use other than satisfactory, to be honest. But it was extremely interesting to watch the Bolton army just get wiped out by the Knights of the Vale, and I think that is the goodness of the brilliance of this show, is that even the smallest of forces can have a major effect on battles like this battle, like the Battle of the Bastards. So before we look at the ending, we're going to look at Winterfell after the main battle. Now, Ramsay retreated inside Winterfell, inside the main gates of Winterfell rather than just outside of it, and 1-1, the giant, broke down the gates. Now, Ramsay fired arrows at Jon. Oh, sorry, I should have mentioned that 1-1 was killed, actually, by Ramsay's men, which was really sad, actually, which means we've lost our two giants this season. We've lost 1-1 and we've lost Hodor, which is quite sad, actually. Now, Ramsay fired arrows, but Jon used a shield to protect himself, which was quite a good scene. It was quite interesting. The tension was building because you thought, what if one of these arrows get through the shield? What happens if Jon dies again? He didn't, but what happens if he did? And Jon beat Ramsay. He was punching him and he was punching him constantly. I thought he'd beaten him to death. He saw Sansa and then he let him be. He just kind of got up and walked away, and Ramsay was just left there. And I think we were all a bit shocked by the monster that Jon's become. And I think, you know, being killed and coming back to life again has had its effects on him in ways that we can't possibly begin to imagine. And that's the incredible writing of this programme, is that we're starting to see just how bad something like that can affect somebody. And I think that's very, very interesting to see Jon, who was this nice character at the beginning of season 1, progress on his journey through the whole kind of 6 seasons now, and he's become a monster almost. And it's quite scary to see this massive transformation. If you track back his all his journey, it's quite scary. So then the ending then, Sansa visited Ramsay in his cell in the kennels. He'd starved his hounds for the past week, which kind of gives you a clue already what's going to happen. There was a very tense conversation. I think it was quite a, I don't know, it was a very weird sort of atmosphere. I think Sansa at that moment realised how much power she had finally over Ramsay, when she hadn't had any power over him before, and suddenly Ramsay realised it as well, and it was all very okay, right, what's going to happen now? And they both kind of had this moment where they just kind of looked at each other while the dog was sniffing around Ramsay. And then his hounds began to tear him apart. And I think, you know, it was a very good graphic design again. You know, and then Sansa walked away with a kind of slight smile. I wouldn't say it was a beam, it was such. It was a very slight smile, which was very satisfactory, I think. And it gave us a sense of victory for Sansa. I think she's finally come into her own fully now. And that she's now, I assume she's the Lord or the Lady of Winterfell now, just as Lady Lyanna Mormont is Lady of Bear Island. It'd be interesting to see what happens. So my conclusion for the week then, in my opinion, this was the best episode of any TV show ever, because there was just so much drama, so much excitement, there was so much everything. Everything was in this episode. Everything you could want was in this episode, I think. It was just fantastic. I didn't quite register what had happened, I don't think, until after the episode. You know, it probably hit me. I thoroughly finished watching it about 11 o'clock, and by about midnight I was just kind of like, oh, okay, this is what's happened. This is the kind of the victory. This is what's happened now. I think this is the aftermath of what's happening. What will the Starks' victory mean for Westeros? And also, what will the Greyjoys' alliance with Daenerys mean for Westeros? I think, obviously, hopefully these questions and more will be answered in the season finale, which is obviously the episode I will be reviewing either tomorrow or Thursday, sorry. So, which brings me to my rating, which finally, this is a momentous occasion, guys. For the first time in any of my reviews, I'm giving this episode, season 6, episode 9, Battle of the Bastards, A 10 out of 10. Yes, that's right, guys. You heard it correctly. You heard it here first. 10 out of 10 for this episode because it was amazing and incredible. And I've already summed up everything I wanted to say in the review. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you're satisfied with my review. I hope you're happy that, you know, that John has won. If you're a Ramsay supporter, well, sorry for you guys that your kind of main leader has lost. But John had to win at some point, and finally we've seen him come up victorious. Thank you very much thank you very much for watching, guys. I will see you very soon with another Game of Thrones review for episode 10. Until next time, bye!